Empress Tyra stood in the observation room, her forearms crossed tightly against her chest. Below her, through the thick glass, her daughters were failing. Again. The simulation room flashed red as Princess Hana's battleship exploded for the third time that morning. The younger princess, Nari, sat frozen at her command station, unable to give orders to her fleet even as enemy ships tore through her defenses. The simulation ended with both sisters defeated, their virtual crews dead. Tara closed her eyes. 40 cycles she had ruled the Velrathi Empire. She had conquered star systems, crushed rebellions, and brought prosperity to 200 worlds. But she could not fix her own daughters. "Reset the simulation," Hana's voice crackled through the speakers. Even in defeat, she sounded arrogant. "I almost had them that time." "You charged straight into their trap," Nari said quietly, "just like the last 3 times. At least I did something. You just sat there like a statue." Tyra turned away from the glass. She had heard this argument too many times. Her daughters had everything they needed to be great rulers. Hana was brilliant at strategy and fearless in battle. Nari understood people and politics better than anyone in the court. But Hana's fearlessness was really recklessness, and Nari's understanding came with crippling hesitation. The empire needed strong heirs. The council was already whispering that the princesses were weak, unsuitable, dangerous. Some suggested that Tara should choose a successor from outside her bloodline. The thought made her blood run cold. She had tried everything. The best military instructors in the empire had trained Hana, but she never listened to them. She was too proud, too certain she knew better. The finest diplomats had tutored Nari, but she was too afraid of making mistakes, too worried about disappointing everyone. Tyra walked through the palace corridors, her feet heavy. Guards bowed as she passed, but she barely noticed them. She was thinking about her late husband, Emperor Kale. He would have known what to do. He always knew what to do. But he had died defending the Empire 10 cycles ago, and she had been alone ever since. "Your Majesty," Advisor Sora appeared beside her, matching her pace. "The council requests an audience. They want to talk about my daughters again." "Yes, Majesty." Tyra sighed. "Tell them I will meet with them tomorrow. Today, I have other business." That business took her to Earth, a small blue planet on the edge of the Empire's territory. Humans were new to space travel, barely able to leave their own solar system. The Velrathi considered them primitive, amusing, mostly harmless. But Tyra had heard interesting things about them. She arrived at a human city, disguised in clothing that hid her extra arms and golden skin. Sora had arranged everything quietly. No one in the Empire knew the Empress was visiting such an insignificant world. The building she entered was called a rehabilitation center. Human younglings who had broken laws or fallen into bad habits came here instead of prison. It was a strange concept to Tara. In the Velrathi Empire, lawbreakers were punished, not rehabilitated. She watched through a one-way window as a human man worked with a group of troubled youth. His name was Jiho, according to Sora's information. He was a former soldier, now a teacher. The young humans were loud, disrespectful, angry. They reminded Tyra of Hana in some ways. One boy threw a chair across the room. Another girl screamed insults. A third sat in the corner, refusing to participate. Like Nari. Jiho did not yell at them. He did not punish them. He simply picked up the chair, set it down, and sat on it himself. "Are you finished?" he asked the boy who had thrown it. "What are you going to do about it, old man?" the boy snarled. "Nothing. I'm just going to sit here until you're ready to tell me why you're angry." The boy stared at him. So did Tyra. This was not how Velrathi instructors worked. They demanded respect, obedience, perfection. The boy's anger slowly deflated. "You're supposed to yell at me." "Why would I do that? You're already angry enough for both of us." Over the next hour, Tyra watched Jiho work with each youngling. He was patient, but not soft. He listened, but did not let them make excuses. He treated their anger and fear as problems to solve, not character flaws to punish. With the quiet girl in the corner, he did something that made Tara lean forward. He sat down next to her and simply waited. He did not demand she speak. He did not tell her what to do. He just sat there, present and calm, until finally the girl whispered something Tara could not hear. Jiho nodded. "That's a start. Tomorrow, maybe you can tell me a little more." When the session ended, Tara met with Jiho in private. He seemed surprised to meet an alien empress, but he recovered quickly. "I watched you teach," Tara said. "Your methods are unusual. They're just kids who've been hurt or scared or angry for so long, they forgot how to be anything else," Jiho replied. "You can't beat that out of someone. You have to help them find their way past it." "And if they refuse to learn? If they are too proud or too afraid?" Jiho smiled. Pride and fear are usually the same thing, just wearing different masks. Someone who's truly confident doesn't need to prove it by being reckless. Someone who's truly wise doesn't avoid decisions out of fear. Tyra felt something click in her mind. Her daughters were not separate problems. They were two sides of the same issue, both trying to hide their fears behind different behaviors. "I have a proposal for you," she said. "It will sound insane. Most of the best ideas do. Come to my empire. Teach my daughters." Jiho blinked. "Teach princesses? Alien princesses? Your Majesty, I'm just a human teacher. I work with troubled kids in a rehab center." "My daughters are troubled. They have everything they need to succeed except the wisdom to use it properly. I have given them the best instructors in the empire. Nothing has worked. What makes you think I can help? Because you see people clearly. You do not judge them for their failures. You help them understand themselves." Tyra leaned forward. "I am not asking you to make them perfect. I am asking you to make them real." Jiho was quiet for a long moment. "This will make a lot of people angry, won't it? Important people in your empire." "Yes. They will call you primitive. They will say I am dishonoring my daughters by giving them a human teacher. They will fight me on this." "Then why do it?" "Because I am their mother before I am their empress," Tara said simply, "and I am running out of options." Jiho looked out the window at the human city below, then back at the alien empress standing before him. "When do we leave?" 3 days later, Jiho arrived at the Imperial Palace on the Velrathi homeworld. The building was massive, carved from black stone that seemed to swallow light. Guards with 4 arms and golden skin watched him with hostile eyes. Servants whispered as he passed. Commander Hyun, head of Imperial Security, met him at the entrance. The Velrathi warrior towered over Jiho, her face cold with disgust. "The Empress is making a mistake bringing you here, human. I will be watching you. If you harm the princesses in any way, if you prove to be a spy or a threat, I will execute you myself." "Understood," Jiho said calmly. "I'm here to teach, not to cause problems." "Teaching is the problem. You are not qualified to instruct Velrathi royalty." "Maybe not. But I'm here anyway, so we might as well make the best of it." Hyun's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing more. She led him through endless corridors to a training room where 2 young Velrathi waited. They looked almost human except for their golden skin and the way their eyes flashed with inner light. Princess Hana stood with her arms crossed, radiating contempt. Princess Nari sat in a corner, refusing to meet his eyes. "This is our new teacher?" Hana laughed. "A human? Mother has truly lost her mind." Jiho set down his bag and looked at both princesses. "You're probably right. This is a strange situation for all of us. I'm a human who's supposed to teach alien princesses. You're royalty who've been told to learn from someone you consider beneath you. So, let's start with that." Start with what? Hana demanded. The truth. You don't want me here. I don't blame you. But I'm here anyway, and we have a choice. We can waste time being angry about it, or we can see what happens. What do you say? I say you should leave, Hana snapped. Jiho nodded. Fair enough. But I'll be back tomorrow, and the day after that, because your mother asked me to help you, and I keep my promises. He left the room, leaving two confused princesses behind. Nari finally spoke. He's strange. He's insulting, Hana corrected. But he will not last long. We will make sure of that. What neither princess knew was that making Jiho leave was exactly what they could not do. And in trying, they would learn more than any instructor had ever taught them. The first week was a disaster. Princess Hana refused to participate in any of Jiho's exercises. When he suggested meditation to help with focus, she laughed in his face. When he proposed studying human military history, she called it a waste of time. Why would I study the wars of primitives who still use chemical propulsion? She asked. Princess Nari was worse in her own way. She attended every session but never spoke unless directly asked a question. Even then, her answers were whispers. She sat in the corner, her face carefully blank, as if trying to disappear. The palace staff treated Jiho like he was invisible or worse. Servants would not meet his eyes. Guards followed him everywhere, making no attempt to hide their surveillance. Commander Hyun appeared at random moments, watching him with cold suspicion. On the third day, Advisor Sora found him sitting alone in the garden. You look tired, she said, settling onto the bench beside him. Your princesses are very determined to hate me. Can you blame them? Their mother hired a human to teach them. To the Velrathi, that is like admitting they are inferior to your species. Jiho nodded. I understand that, but understanding it doesn't make it easier. The Empress believes in you. She does not make decisions lightly. What if she's wrong? What if I can't help them? Sora was quiet for a moment. Then you will fail. But at least you will have tried. That is more than most would do. That night, Jiho changed his approach. If the princesses would not learn from him, perhaps they could teach him instead. The next morning, he challenged Princess Hana to a combat simulation. She looked surprised, then delighted. You want to fight me, a human against a Velrathi warrior princess? I want to learn your fighting style, Jiho corrected. Will you show me? Hana's eyes gleamed. This will be embarrassing for you. They entered the simulation room. Jiho had trained with the simulator the previous night, learning the basic controls. He was not good at it, but he was competent enough not to look completely foolish. The simulation began. Hana's ship moved like lightning, striking from 3 angles at once. Jiho tried to defend, but she tore through his shields in seconds. His ship exploded before he could fire a single shot. Again, he said. They ran the simulation 5 times. Hana won every time, each victory faster than the last, but Jiho watched carefully, studying her patterns. After the 5th defeat, he put down the controls and turned to her. You're incredible. Your reaction time is at least 3 times faster than mine, but can I ask you something? Hana looked suspicious, but also pleased by the compliment. What? Why do you always attack from the same pattern? Upper left, lower right, then center, every single time. Because it works. Against me, yes. But what if your enemy knows the pattern? What if they're expecting it? Hana frowned. Then You'd be flying straight into a trap, Jiho finished gently. Just like in your training simulations, your instructors told you that, didn't they? They don't understand. They're too cautious, too slow. Or maybe they see something you don't. Jiho leaned forward. You're so fast and so skilled that you've never had to think about what happens when someone matches your speed. You rely on overwhelming your opponents. But what happens when you can't? Hana stood up, angry. Are you saying I'm a bad fighter? I'm saying you're an amazing fighter who could be unstoppable if you learn to think as fast as you move. She stared at him, then stormed out of the room. Jiho sighed. He had pushed too hard, too fast. But the next morning, Hana appeared at his door before the scheduled session. Teach me about human military tactics, she said abruptly. The ones where weaker forces defeat stronger ones. Jiho hid his smile. Come in. With Princess Nari, Jiho took a different approach. He noticed that she loved the palace gardens, spending hours there when she thought no one was watching. So he started taking his lunch there, sitting on the same bench, reading from a tablet. For 3 days, Nari watched him from a distance. On the 4th day, she sat on the opposite end of the bench. Jiho kept reading. On the 5th day, she sat a little closer. On the 6th day, Jiho brought 2 lunches. He set one beside him and kept reading. After a few minutes, Nari reached over and took it. They ate in silence. On the 7th day, Nari spoke. What are you reading? Human Philosophy, a book about leadership. What does it say? Jiho closed the tablet. It says that the best leaders are not the ones who have all the answers. They're the ones who ask the right questions. That doesn't make sense. Leaders should know what to do. Should they? Or should they know how to find out what to do? Jiho pulled out a small puzzle box from his pocket. Try this. Nari took it carefully. It was a simple wooden cube with sliding pieces. What is it? A puzzle. There are many ways to solve it. None of them are wrong. But some must be better than others. Does it matter? The point is to solve it, not to find the perfect solution. Nari turned the cube over in her hands. What if I can't solve it? Then you can't, and nothing bad will happen. It's just a puzzle. Over the next hour, Nari worked on the puzzle while Jiho read. She didn't solve it completely, but she made progress. More importantly, she didn't give up. This is frustrating, she admitted. Most worthwhile things are. In Velrathi training, if we cannot complete a task, we are punished. That's a terrible way to learn. Failure is how we grow. If you never fail, you're not trying anything difficult enough. Nari looked at him with wide eyes. The Empress would disagree with you. Maybe, but I noticed she hired a human teacher, not a Velrathi one. A small smile crossed Nari's face. It was the first time Jiho had seen her smile. The turning point came in the 3rd week. Jiho organized a joint exercise for both princesses. They had to work together to solve a tactical problem he had designed based on human military history. This is stupid, Hana said immediately. The scenario doesn't make sense. Why would anyone divide their forces like this? Because sometimes you don't have a choice, Jiho replied. Sometimes the situation is bad, and you have to make the best of it. Then the answer is to retreat and regroup. That's not an option in this scenario. Your people are trapped. You have to save them. Hana scowled at the tactical display. Nari sat at her station, looking overwhelmed. They tried for an hour. Hana wanted to attack aggressively, splitting their forces to hit multiple targets. Nari thought they should defend and wait for reinforcements. They couldn't agree on anything. The simulation ended in complete failure. Both princesses sat in frustrated silence. Do you want to know the secret? Jiho asked. What secret? Hana snapped. The secret is that this is a human battle simulation. It's based on something that actually happened on Earth, a small force trapped between 2 larger armies. And how did the humans win? They didn't fight like Velrathi. They didn't attack and they didn't just defend. They did both at the same time. They sent a small group to attack one enemy camp while the main force defended against the other. Then they switched. They kept both enemies off balance, never letting either one focus completely. That's... Nari started. Cowardly, Hana finished. No, Nari said quietly. It's clever. Hana turned to her sister, surprised. Nari rarely disagreed with her openly. Think about it, Nari continued, her voice getting stronger. They used their weakness as a strength. They were too small to win a direct fight, so they didn't fight directly. They made the battle on their terms, not the enemy's terms. But a true warrior doesn't run from direct combat, Hana argued. A true warrior keeps their soldiers alive, Jiho said. Pride doesn't matter if everyone is dead. Hana was quiet for a long moment. Show us how they did it. For the next hour, Jiho walked them through the human battle. He explained the decisions, the risks, the moments where the commanders had to trust their subordinates to act independently. He showed them how communication and flexibility won the day. Let's try the simulation again, Hana said finally. But this time, Nari and I will actually work together instead of arguing. They ran the simulation again. This time, Hana listened when Nari suggested defensive positions. Nari spoke up when Hana's attack plan was too risky. They didn't win the simulation. But they lasted twice as long and saved most of their virtual troops. When it ended, both princesses looked exhausted but satisfied. We still failed, Hana said. But you failed better than before, Jiho replied. That's called progress. Nari laughed. It was a small sound but genuine. Hana looked at her sister, then at Jiho, and something in her expression softened. Tomorrow, Hana said, we will try again, and this time, we will succeed. Maybe, Jiho agreed, or maybe you'll fail in a new and interesting way. Either way, you'll learn something. After the princesses left, Advisor Sora found Jiho in the training room. The Empress wishes to see you, she said. Jiho followed her to the Empress's private chambers. Tyra stood at a window overlooking the capital city, her 4 arms clasped behind her back. Commander Hyun tells me my daughters requested additional training sessions with you, she said without turning around. Yes, Majesty. She also tells me that Hana asked a subordinate officer for tactical advice yesterday, and that Nari spoke during the council briefing this morning. Small things, perhaps, but things they have never done before. Tara turned to face him. You are doing something right, Jiho of Earth. Continue. I will, Majesty, though I should warn you things may get worse before they get better. Why? Because real growth is uncomfortable. Your daughters are starting to question things they've always believed about themselves. That's painful. They might resist harder before they truly change. Tyra nodded slowly. Then I will trust you to guide them through that pain. As I have trusted you so far. Jiho bowed and left. He didn't see Tyra's expression as she watched him go, a mixture of hope and fear. In the shadows of the palace, others were watching too, and they were not pleased. High Chancellor Do-Yun watched the security footage with growing alarm. Princess Hana was laughing, actually laughing, with genuine joy, as she discussed tactics with the human teacher. Princess Nari was speaking confidently during a strategy session, offering ideas without fear. This was not supposed to happen. The human is corrupting them, said General Wu Jin, one of the council's most conservative members, making them soft, weak. The Empress believes otherwise, Advisor Sora replied. She sat at the council table, the only member who supported Tara's decision to hire Jiho. The Empress is blinded by maternal sentiment, Do-Yun said coldly. She sees improvement where there is only deterioration. The princesses are learning to question, to hesitate, to consider the feelings of subordinates. These are not qualities of Velrathi rulers. They are qualities of wise rulers, Sora countered. We do not need wise rulers. We need strong ones. Do-Yun leaned forward. For 3,000 cycles, the Velrathi Empire has endured because we value strength above all else. We do not compromise. We do not apologize. We do not ask lesser beings for advice. This human is teaching the princesses to do all of these things. He is teaching them to think, Sora said quietly. They already know how to think. What they need to learn is how to command without question, to lead without doubt, to rule with absolute authority. The humans' methods undermine everything the Empire stands for. The council chamber fell silent. Finally, Do-hyun spoke again. I propose that we test the princesses. If they have truly improved under the humans' guidance, they should be able to handle real responsibilities. If they fail, we will have proof that the Empress's experiment has damaged them beyond repair. What kind of test? General Wu Jin asked. Do-hyun smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. The Ashkari Confederation has been probing our border defenses in the Kalar system. Nothing serious yet, but tensions are rising. I suggest we place Princess Hana in command of the defense fleet. Let her demonstrate her improved leadership skills. Sora felt ice in her veins. That is not a test. That is a trap. The Kalar system is strategically complex, with multiple choke points and civilian stations. Even experienced commanders struggle there. Then, it should be easy for a princess who has been taught by such a revolutionary teacher, Do-hyun said smoothly. Unless you doubt the humans' methods. I doubt your motives. My motives are simple. I want to ensure our next empress is capable of ruling. If Princess Hana succeeds, she will have proven herself. If she fails, we will know that the empress must reconsider her choice of heir. And who would you suggest as an alternative? Sora asked dangerously. The Empire has many capable leaders. The council could form a regency until a suitable heir is identified. There it was. The real goal. Do-hyun wanted to remove the princesses entirely and place power in the council's hands. The Empress will never agree to this, Sora said. The Empress wants what is best for the Empire. If we present this as an opportunity for Princess Hana to prove herself, she will agree. She has faith in her daughters, does she not? Sora left the council chamber and went straight to the Empress. But Do-hyun had predicted this. He had already sent his recommendation to Tyra through official channels, framed as a vote of confidence in Hana's development. When Sora arrived, Tyra had already made her decision. I have agreed to place Hana in command of the Kalar Defense Fleet, the Empress said. Majesty, this is a mistake. Do-hyun is setting her up to fail. I know. Tyra's eyes were hard. But if I refuse, I prove that I do not trust my own daughter. The council will use that against her for the rest of her life. Better to let her face this challenge now, with our support, than to protect her and confirm their doubts. What if she fails? Then she fails, and we will deal with the consequences. Tyra turned to face her advisor. But I do not believe she will fail. Not anymore. Jiho has given her something she never had before. What? The ability to admit she needs help. When Jiho heard the news, he immediately went to find Hana. She was in the training room, running combat simulations over and over. You heard, she said without looking up. The whole palace has heard. You're being given command of the Kalar Defense Fleet. It's a trap. The council wants me to fail. I know. Hana finally turned to face him. You're supposed to tell me I can succeed, that I've learned enough, that everything will be fine. I could lie to you, Jiho said, but I respect you too much for that. The truth is, this is going to be incredibly difficult. The Kalar system is a nightmare to defend. You'll be outnumbered. The political situation is complex. And yes, the council is hoping you'll fail so they can prove the Empress made a mistake by hiring me. So what do I do? What do you think you should do? Hana was quiet for a long moment. The old me would have charged in, attacked aggressively, tried to win through sheer force, prove I'm strong enough to overcome any obstacle. And now? Now I know that would get people killed. Hana sat down heavily. I need a better plan. But I don't know enough about the Kalar system. I need information, advice, support. So ask for it. Velrathi commanders don't ask for help. They're supposed to have all the answers. Hana, who told you that? She thought about it. Everyone. My instructors, the council, the Empire's entire military tradition. And how well has that tradition been working? How many battles has the Empire lost because commanders were too proud to admit they needed help? Hana didn't answer, but Jiho could see her thinking. There's a young officer named Captain Taeyang, Jiho continued. He served in the Kalar system for 5 cycles. He knows the territory, the local politics, everything. But he's not high-ranking enough that anyone important listens to him. You want me to ask a captain for advice? The council will say I'm weak. The council is already hoping you'll fail, so you have nothing to lose by doing things differently. Jiho leaned forward. Here's what humans learned after thousands of years of warfare. The best commanders aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who know how to find and use the best information. That night, Hana contacted Captain Taeyang. The young officer was shocked to receive a personal communication from a princess. Your Highness, how may I serve you? I need your help, Hana said simply. I'm taking command of the Kalar Defense Fleet. You know that system better than anyone. Tell me what I need to know. Taeyang's shock turned to respect. No senior officer had ever asked his opinion before. He spent the next 3 hours explaining the intricacies of the Kalar system, the local politics, the Ashkari tactics, everything he had learned. Hana listened, asked questions, and took notes. It was the first time in her life she had truly listened to someone of lower rank. Meanwhile, Nari faced her own crisis. Palace security had detected unusual activity in the Empress's quarters. Someone had been accessing restricted files, searching through Terra's private communications. It looked like espionage, possibly connected to an assassination attempt. As the Empress's daughter and the person closest to her, Nari was placed in charge of the investigation. It was a role she had never wanted and wasn't trained for. I don't know how to do this, she told Jiho in the garden. I'm not a security officer. I don't know how to interrogate suspects or analyze intelligence. So who does know? Commander Hyun, but she hates humans and probably hates me too for working with you. Does that change the fact that she's the best person to help you? Nari twisted her hands together. What if I ask for her help and she refuses? What if she tells the council I'm incompetent? What if she doesn't? Jiho countered. What if she respects you for having the wisdom to ask for expert help? You don't know Commander Han. She doesn't respect anyone. Maybe because no one has given her a reason to. Look, Nari, you can sit here and worry about all the ways this could go wrong. Or you can do your job, which is protecting your mother. What matters more? Your pride or the Empress's safety? Nari stood up. Her legs felt shaky, but her voice was steady. You're right. I'll talk to Commander Hyun. The conversation did not go well at first. You want my help? Hyun looked at Nari with cold disbelief. This is your investigation, your responsibility. Yes, Nari said quietly, and I'm not qualified for it. You are. The Empress's life may be in danger. This is not the time for me to pretend I know what I'm doing. Something shifted in Hyun's expression. You admit you are not capable? I'm capable of protecting my mother by using every resource available. That includes you. For a long moment, Hyun said nothing. Then, slowly, she nodded. Very well. I will assist you, but you will listen to everything I say. I will. They worked together through the night, analyzing security logs, interviewing palace staff, searching for patterns. Nari forced herself to stay focused even when she was terrified, even when the implications of what they were finding became clear. The evidence pointed to someone high in the palace hierarchy, someone with access to the Empress's private quarters, Someone on the council. We need to present this to the Empress, Hyun said. But if you accuse a council member without absolute proof, it will destroy your credibility forever. Then we need absolute proof, Nari said. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. How do we get it? Hyun actually smiled. You are learning, Princess. Perhaps the human is not completely useless after all. When Jiho heard about both situations, he felt a mixture of pride and fear. The princesses were being tested far earlier than he had expected. They weren't ready. Not really. But then again, no one ever was. He found Captain Taiyang in the officers' quarters, poring over tactical maps with Princess Hana. May I join you? Jiho asked. Please, Hana said. Captain Taiyang has been incredibly helpful. He's explained the entire defensive network. Taiyang looked embarrassed. I only told Her Highness what I know. Sir, that's more than most would do. Thank you for helping her. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Other officers, seeing Hana work with Taiyang, began offering their own advice. Information flowed to her that normally would have stayed bottled up in the lower ranks. She was building a team, not just commanding subordinates. Nari, working with Commander Hyun, discovered that High Chancellor Do-hyun had been communicating with Ashkari agents, not to betray the Empire, but to arrange a coordinated crisis. The Ashkari would threaten the Kalar system, and Do-hyun would ensure Hana failed to defend it properly. The failure would justify removing the princesses from succession. He's willing to risk war for political power, Nari said, horrified. Welcome to politics, Hyun replied grimly. Now you must decide what to do with this information. Tell the Empress immediately or wait until you have enough evidence to destroy him completely. The old Nari would have frozen, unable to make such a weighty decision. The new Nari took a deep breath and made her choice. We wait, but not for long. We need enough evidence that the council cannot ignore it, even if some of them support Do-hyun. Can you help me build that case? Yes, Princess, I can. As the Ashkari fleet moved toward the Kalar system and political conspiracies unfolded in the palace, Jiho watched his students prepare for the greatest tests of their lives. He had taught them everything he could. Now they would have to prove they had learned it. He only hoped it would be enough. The Ashkari fleet appeared at the edge of the Kalar system exactly when Do-hyun's intelligence had predicted. 47 ships against Princess Hana's 23. The numbers were bad, but not impossible. What made the situation truly dangerous was the system itself. Kalar had 6 inhabited stations and 2 colony worlds, millions of civilian lives scattered across a massive area. Hana could not defend everything at once. Whatever she chose to protect, something else would be left vulnerable. On the bridge of her flagship, Hana stood perfectly still, watching the tactical display. Her officers waited for orders. The old Hana would have already been moving, attacking, doing something aggressive to seize the initiative. The new Hana was thinking. Captain Taiyang, analysis of their formation? Standard Ashkari intimidation pattern, Your Highness, spread wide to threaten multiple locations simultaneously. They want us to split our forces trying to defend everything. And if we don't split our forces, then they'll destroy whatever we don't protect. Millions could die. Hana nodded slowly. Commander Minho, what assets do we have that aren't military vessels? The weapons officer looked confused. Your Highness? Civilian ships, mining vessels, cargo transports, anything that can move and has basic communications. Hundreds of them, but they're not armed. They can't fight. I don't need them to fight. I need them to confuse. Hana turned to her communications officer. Send a message to all civilian vessels in the system. Tell them we're organizing an evacuation drill. They're to move to designated safe zones near our defensive positions. Make it look panicked and disorganized. Understanding dawned on Captain Taiyang's face. You want the Ashkari to think we're evacuating, that we're scared. I want them to think we're doing exactly what they expect, trying to save everyone, which means we can't focus our forces. Hana's fingers moved across the tactical display. But actually, we're going to use the civilian traffic as cover to reposition our military ships. The Ashkari sensors won't be able to tell which vessels are armed until they're too close. That's... Commander Minho hesitated. That's not a traditional Velrathi tactic, Your Highness. No, it's a human tactic. Jiho taught me about an Earth general named Hannibal who used dust and cattle to hide his army's true movements. We're doing the same thing, but in space. She gave the orders. Across the Kalar system, civilian ships began moving in apparently random patterns. Behind that chaos, Hana's military vessels repositioned themselves carefully. The Ashkari fleet advanced, confident. Their commander, Admiral Kresh, watched the disorganized retreat with satisfaction. The princess panics, just as we were told she would, Kresh said. Divide the fleet. Take the mining stations and the outer colonies. Make them surrender quickly. The Ashkari ships split into 3 groups, each heading for different targets. They expected to find frightened civilian vessels and a few scattered defense ships. Instead, they flew into carefully prepared ambushes. Hana had positioned her forces at the exact points where the Ashkari fleet would divide. When the enemy ships committed to their attack vectors, her vessels emerged from the civilian traffic and struck hard. But she didn't fight the way Velrathi commanders usually fought. She didn't try to destroy the enemy ships. Instead, she disabled their engines and communications, leaving them stranded but alive. Your Highness, we have them trapped, Captain Taeyang reported. We could finish them now. No, I want prisoners, not corpses. Hana opened a channel to Admiral Kresh's flagship. Admiral, your fleet is disabled. Surrender and you'll be treated with honor. Continue fighting and I'll be forced to destroy you. There was a long pause. Then Kresh's voice came through, thick with fury and grudging respect. You are not what we were told to expect, Princess. I'm sure I'm not. Do we have your surrender? You do. The battle was over. Hana had won with minimal casualties on both sides, but more importantly, she had defended every single civilian installation in the system. Not one life was lost. In the palace, the council watched the battle footage in stunned silence. High Chancellor Do Yun's face was like stone. She was supposed to fail, General Wu Jin whispered. She did not fight like a Velrathi, another council member said. Those tactics were strange, unconventional. But effective, Advisor Sora replied, unable to hide her smile. And that is what matters. While Hana was winning her battle, Nari was fighting her own war in the council chambers. She stood before the assembled council with Commander Hyun at her side. In her hands was a data crystal containing weeks of evidence. Her legs felt like water, but she kept her voice steady. Honored council members, I have discovered a conspiracy against the Empire. This is a serious accusation, Princess, one of the council members said. What evidence do you have? Nari activated the holographic display. Communications records appeared, showing encrypted messages between someone in the palace and Ashkari intelligence. These messages show coordination between an imperial official and the Ashkari Confederation. The official provided information about our defensive deployments and guaranteed that Princess Hana would fail to defend the Kalar system. This could be anyone, Do Hyun said smoothly, without knowing the source. The source is you, High Chancellor. The room erupted. Council members shouted. Guards moved toward Do Hyun. Nari wanted to run, to hide, to let someone else handle this. But she stood her ground. Commander Hyun and I traced these communications to your private terminal. We have records of you accessing classified information about Hana's assignment. We have testimony from communications staff about unusual encryption requests, and we have this. She played an audio recording. Doyun's voice speaking to an Ashkari agent. The princess will fail. When she does, the council will have the authority we need to remove both daughters from succession. The empire will be ruled by reason, not sentiment. Do-yun's face went pale, then red with fury. You little fool! Do you understand what you've done? I was trying to save the empire from weak leadership. By risking war? By sabotaging your own military forces? By betraying your oaths? Nari's voice shook, but not with fear, with anger. You call my sister weak, but she just saved the Kalar system. You call me indecisive, but I decided to stop you. We are not perfect, High Chancellor, but we are learning. Can you say the same? Commander Yun stepped forward. High Chancellor Do-yun, by order of the Empress and evidence presented by Princess Nari, you are under arrest for treason. As guards took Do-yun away, the council sat in shocked silence. Nari remained standing, her heart pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. The princess has shown great courage, one council member said slowly, and great wisdom in how she conducted this investigation. She worked with Commander Hyun instead of acting alone, another added. That shows sound judgment. Advisor Sora stood. The princess did what was necessary to protect the empire, just as her sister did in the Kalar system. Perhaps it is time we acknowledge that the Empress's faith in her daughters was not misplaced. The council members looked at each other. Slowly, one by one, they nodded. When the council session ended, Nari went straight to her quarters and collapsed. Her whole body was shaking. She had done it. She had actually done it. A knock came at her door. Nari? It's Jiho. Can I come in? She opened the door. Jiho took one look at her face and smiled. You did it. I was so scared. The whole time I thought I was going to faint or say something stupid or... But you didn't. You did what needed to be done. Only because you taught me that doing something imperfectly is better than doing nothing perfectly. I didn't teach you that. I just helped you remember that you already knew it. That evening, Hana returned to the palace in triumph. The Empress held a formal reception in her honor. The council praised her tactics. Officers who had doubted her now requested to serve under her command. Through it all, Hana looked for one person. When she finally found Jiho in the crowd, she walked straight to him and bowed. A Velrathi princess bowing to a human teacher. The entire reception hall fell silent. Thank you, Hana said simply, for teaching me that asking for help is not weakness. You're welcome, but you did the hard part. You fought the battle. Because you taught me how. The Empress approached, and Hana straightened, but Tyra's eyes were on Jiho. It seems I made the right choice after all, Tyra said. Your Majesty. Your daughters did all the real work. I just pointed them in the right direction. You did far more than that. You gave them something I could not. You showed them that they did not need to be perfect. They only needed to be willing to grow. Later that night, after the reception ended, the three of them sat together in the garden, where Jiho had first begun teaching Nari. The two princesses, the human teacher, and a small puzzle box that Nari had finally solved. What happens now? Hana asked. Will you stay and continue teaching us? Do you still need a teacher? Jiho countered. Yes, both sisters said at once, then looked at each other in surprise. We still have so much to learn, Nari added. You've shown us a different way of thinking, but we've only just begun to understand it. Hana nodded. Besides, the council will test us again. They always do. And next time, we might not be so lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it, Jiho said. You prepared. You asked for help. You used every resource available to you. That's not luck. That's leadership. Will you stay? Nari asked again. Jiho looked at both of them. Princess Hana, who had learned that strength without wisdom is just violence. Princess Nari, who had discovered that wisdom without courage is just fear. They were not perfect. They would make mistakes. But they were growing into the leaders the empire needed. I'll stay, he said. For as long as you need me." High above them, in her private chambers, Empress Tara watched the three of them through the window. She had gambled everything on a strange human teacher with unconventional methods. The council had doubted her. Even she had doubted herself at times. But her daughters were laughing together in the garden, planning their next training session with Jiho, excited to learn more. And that was worth any risk. The Empire was changing. Slowly, carefully, but definitely changing. And it was changing for the better. Tara touched the communication panel on her desk. "Advisor Sora?" "Yes, Majesty." "Send a message to the human homeworld. Tell them that Earth's petition to join the Galactic Council has my full support. Any species that can produce teachers like Jiho deserves a place among the stars." There was a pause. Then Sora's voice filled with emotion. "Yes, Majesty. Right away." Tyra closed her eyes and allowed herself to hope. For her daughters, for her empire, for a future where strength and wisdom walked hand in hand. 6 cycles had passed since the battle at Kalar. The Velrothi Empire had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Princess Hana now commanded the imperial military with a style that baffled traditional officers, but achieved remarkable results. She held regular councils with officers of all ranks, listening to ideas from junior soldiers as readily as from generals. Her forces won battles with fewer casualties than ever before because she valued the lives of her troops as much as victory itself. Princess Nari served as High Chancellor, the youngest in the Empire's history. She had transformed the council from a group of competing interests into a body that actually worked together. Her diplomatic initiatives had opened dialogue with former enemies and strengthened alliances with friends. But the most significant change was something invisible, a shift in how the Velrothi thought about strength itself. Jiho sat in his quarters, packing his belongings into a simple bag. His contract was complete. The princesses no longer needed a teacher, at least not a full-time one. It was time to go home. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Both princesses entered, followed by Empress Tara. Jiho stood quickly and bowed. "Your Majesty, Your Highnesses, I wasn't expecting you." "We need to talk to you," Hana said. "Mother is planning something important and we want you to be there." "What kind of something?" Tara smiled. "Walk with us." They led him through the palace to the grand ceremonial hall. The entire imperial court was assembled. Council members, military leaders, ambassadors from allied worlds, and hundreds of others. At the center of the hall stood a raised platform with the imperial throne. "What is this?" Jiho asked. "My formal abdication ceremony," Tyra said calmly. "I am naming Hana as my successor. She will be crowned Empress today." Jiho looked at Hana in shock. "But you're so young. You've only been—" "I'm ready," Hana said quietly. "Not because I know everything, but because I know how to find out what I don't know. You taught me that." "And I will be at her side as first advisor," Nari added. "Together, we can lead the Empire forward." The ceremony began. Jiho watched from the honored guest section as Tara formally transferred power to her daughter. The ritual was ancient, unchanged for thousands of cycles. But the words Hana spoke when she accepted the crown were new. "I accept this responsibility not as a burden to carry alone, but as a trust to share with all who serve the Empire. I promise to lead with strength, but also with wisdom, to honor our traditions while embracing necessary change, to value the counsel of others as much as my own judgment." The court erupted in applause. Some of it was enthusiastic, some polite, some uncertain. Change was never comfortable, even positive change. After the ceremony, a banquet was held. Jiho found himself seated at the high table between Captain Tai Yang and Commander Hyun. The commander had softened considerably since their first meeting. "You were right, human," Hyun said, her tone almost friendly. The princesses needed a different kind of teaching. I didn't do anything special. I just treated them like people instead of perfect royals. That is precisely what made it special. Hyun raised her glass. To the human who changed an empire. Others at the table joined the toast. Jiho felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. During the banquet, a new guest arrived. The herald announced, Ambassador Yuna of Earth. Jiho turned to see a human woman in formal diplomatic attire walking toward the high table. She was middle-aged, with gray in her hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She bowed to Empress Hana. Your Majesty, I bring greetings from Earth and the human government. Ambassador, you are most welcome, Hana replied. Please join us. Ambassador Yuna sat near Jiho. She leaned over and whispered, So you're the famous Jiho. Earth has been watching your work here with great interest. Famous? I'm just a teacher. A teacher who helped transform an entire empire's approach to leadership. That's not just anything. Yuna smiled. Earth's government wants to know if you'd be willing to do something similar with other species. We're organizing a cultural exchange program. Before Jiho could respond, Empress Hana stood and called for silence. Honored guests, I have an announcement. For 3,000 cycles, the Velrothi Empire has stood alone in its corner of the galaxy. We allied with some species, warred with others, but we never truly opened ourselves to different ways of thinking. Today, that changes. She gestured to Ambassador Yuna. Earth has proposed a formal alliance and cultural exchange program. Humans will teach in Velrothi institutions. Velrothi warriors will train alongside human forces. We will learn from each other, not as superior and inferior, but as equals with different strengths. The hall buzzed with reaction. Some council members looked pleased. Others looked horrified. General Wu Jin stood. Your Majesty, with respect, humans are a young species. What can they teach us that we have not already mastered? They can teach us what I learned from Jiho, Hana replied. That mastery is not about knowing everything. It is about being willing to learn anything. They can teach us flexibility, creativity, and the courage to admit when we do not have all the answers. And what will we teach them? Another council member asked. Discipline, strategic thinking, and the warrior's code of honor, Nari answered, standing beside her sister. This exchange benefits both species. We each have wisdom the other lacks. Furthermore, Hana continued, I am formally supporting Earth's petition to join the Galactic Council. Any species that produces teachers like Jiho deserves full recognition among the stars. The announcement sent shockwaves through the assembled crowd. Earth joining the Galactic Council? It was unprecedented. Humans had barely achieved interstellar travel. Ambassador Yuna looked stunned. Your Majesty, this is... Earth is honored beyond words. It is simply recognition of what you have already proven. You have changed the Velrothi Empire for the better. You deserve a voice in galactic affairs. After the banquet, Jiho found himself in the garden with both sisters, just like old times. But now one of them was an empress, and the other was the second most powerful person in the empire. You're really leaving? Nari asked. My work here is done. You don't need me anymore. That's not true, Hana said. We'll always need guidance. We'll always have more to learn. Then learn from each other. Learn from your people. Learn from the humans who will come as part of the exchange program. Jiho smiled. You don't need one teacher anymore. You need many teachers, many perspectives, many sources of wisdom. Will you come back and visit? Nari's voice was small. Of course. Earth isn't that far away. And besides, I want to see what you do with this empire. I have a feeling it's going to be remarkable. Hana pulled something from her robes. It was the puzzle box that Jiho had given Nari all those cycles ago. We want you to have this back, Hana said. As a reminder. A reminder of what? that the most important puzzles are the ones we solve together, Nari said softly. That's what you taught us. Hana and I were always trying to solve our problems alone. You showed us that working together, asking for help, combining our different strengths, that's how we find the best solutions. Jiho took the box, turning it over in his hands. I'll treasure this. But you should know that I learned as much from you as you learned from me. What could we possibly have taught you? Hana asked. That people can change if they're willing to try. That courage and wisdom aren't opposites, they're partners. That the future belongs to those brave enough to grow beyond who they were. Jiho looked at both of them. When I came here, I thought I was going to teach two spoiled princesses some basic life lessons. Instead, I watched two remarkable young women become the leaders their empire needed. That's not my accomplishment. It's yours. The next morning, Jiho prepared to board the transport that would take him back to Earth. The entire palace turned out to see him off. Empress Hana and Chancellor Nari stood at the front of the crowd. Safe journey, teacher, Hana said formally. Then, more quietly, thank you for believing in us when no one else did. Someone else did, Jiho corrected, looking at Empress Terra, who stood nearby. Your mother believed in you from the start. I just helped you see what she already knew. Terra stepped forward. Jiho of Earth, the Velrathi Empire is forever in your debt. You came here as a teacher and leave as a friend. Our doors will always be open to you. The honor is mine, Majesty. As Jiho walked toward his ship, Captain Taeyang and Commander Hyun fell into step beside him. The new Empress has asked me to establish a joint training program with Earth forces, Taeyang said. I'll probably see you again soon. I look forward to it, Captain. And I am to lead the security detail for the first group of human teachers coming to the Empire, Hyun added. Try to send us good ones, yes? I'll do my best, Commander. At the ship's entrance, Jiho turned for one last look at the palace. Two young women stood there, waving. Not princesses anymore. An empress and a chancellor, leaders who would guide the empire into a new era. He waved back, then boarded the ship. As the transport lifted off, carrying Jiho away from the Velrathi homeworld, Ambassador Yuna sat across from him. Earth wants to know if you'll help train the teachers we're sending to the empire, she said. You understand the Velrathi better than anyone. I'd be happy to help. But I think the program should go both ways. Humans have a lot to learn from the Velrathi, too. Agreed. This is going to change everything, you know. The relationship between our species, the balance of power in the galaxy, everything. Jiho looked out the window at the stars. Change is good, as long as we're willing to learn from it. 10 cycles later, the change was undeniable. The Velrathi Empire had become a leader in galactic diplomacy, not through conquest, but through collaboration. Empress Hana's military reforms had been adopted by a dozen other species. Chancellor Nari's political innovations had inspired new forms of governance across the galaxy. Earth had taken its place on the Galactic Council, its voice respected despite its youth as a spacefaring civilization. Humans served throughout the galaxy as teachers, diplomats, and advisors. Their unique perspective, their ability to adapt and find creative solutions, was valued everywhere. And the partnership between humans and Velrathi had become the foundation for a larger alliance of species that valued wisdom as much as power. In the Imperial Palace garden, an elderly Empress Terra sat with her great-grandchildren, teaching them the story of how everything changed. So a human came to the palace? One of the younglings asked. Yes, a human teacher named Jiho. And he taught Grandmother Hana and Great-Aunt Nari. He did. And they taught the Empire, and the Empire taught the galaxy. What did he teach them? Terra smiled. He taught them that asking for help is not weakness, that changing is not betrayal, that the best leaders are those who never stop learning. Simple lessons, but ones we had forgotten. Where is he now? Jiho passed away 2 cycles ago at peace on his homeworld, but his legacy lives on in everything we do. The younglings were quiet for a moment. Then one asked, "Will I meet any humans, grandmother?" Of course. Humans are everywhere now. They're our friends, our teachers, our partners in building a better galaxy. Tyra looked up at the stars, visible even in daylight through the garden's transparent dome. Your grandmother trusted a human when everyone said she was wrong, and that trust changed everything. Far away, on Earth, a memorial stood in the city where Jiho had taught troubled youth all those years ago. The inscription read, "Jiho, teacher and bridge builder. He showed an empire that true strength comes not from standing above others, but from lifting them up. May we all learn from his example." Beneath the inscription, someone had added a small puzzle box, identical to the one Jiho had given Princess Nari. Visitors would pick it up, try to solve it, then pass it to the next person, because the most important puzzles are always the ones we solve together. And that was the lesson that changed the galaxy.